Earlier on this channel, we covered reports that the Walt Disney Company is interested in buying Hulu just so they can eventually kill Hulu. Now, of course, those reports remain uncorroborated, the rumors not yet verified. However, we are now getting closer, perhaps, to realizing what it is that Disney wants to do with Hulu. And we're ready to send out, perhaps for the very first time, graphics that you may find interesting in regards to what is happening to Disney Plus and Hulu this year. All right, folks, welcome back to another video of excellence here on the WDW Pro channel. What a joy it is that you have elected to join us. Folks, if you would not mind, please consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and click it, stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Joining me to talk about this latest revelation we have out of the Walt Disney Company, we have returning to the channel. Finally, it's been far too long. Script Doctor is back. Script, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Zero. Thank you so much for having me today.
And Valiant Renegade, of course, a fan favorite and often here. I also enjoy being part of the Renegade Online show on Sunday evenings. It is must-watch YouTube. Valiant, welcome back.
Well, good to be here. And, Pro, as always, thank you for slumming it with us on Sundays.
That's right, slumming on down with Valiant Renegade. Although you remain ahead of me in subscribers by about 8,000. And you were just making it so difficult to catch you with all of your appearances on the mainstream press.
That is not going to last long. I'm sure you will pass me up any day.
Oh yes, I'm going to pass you up while you're doing making friends with Gutfeld and the rest over there on Fox News. Absolutely. Well, let's get into the topic at hand, though. What is going to happen to Hulu? And folks, this is a big deal because we are just perhaps at the time of your viewing of this video hours away from the Walt Disney Company doing their new earnings report. And Hulu's going to be a big part of that. The mainstream media has not covered to the detail I think is necessary just how big of a purchase this is for the Walt Disney Company and how much it is coloring all of their decisions that they're making financially. Now, of course, we covered before this rumor, make of it what you will, could be a leak, could be legit, might not be. But out of the Disney Company that they plan to kill Hulu over time. In other words, they plan to phase it out and fully integrate it to Disney Plus. We've got some more information. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to hand it over to our esteemed panelists to take us to another level in terms of figuring out what all this means. But let's start with the email, and then, folks, later in the video, we will present to you apparently the information that Disney is providing to some inside the industry to explain all of this. Here's what we've got from a source. A new source of that, and by the way, thank you to the source. It says, I can't speak to whether Disney will kill Hulu because, well, no one really can. Pretty sure pretty much everything is on the table, but even if there is a plan right now to kill it, then that plan will probably change sooner or later. I say this because just about every plan has changed recently. That's not a surprise given the changes at Disney. Everything is being rethought, reanalyzed, and reevaluated under the new budget-conscious decrees. Plans are drawn up, tentative first steps are taken, and then the results are evaluated to inform the newly revised plan. Disney is a much more conscientious and cautious company now, highly aware of the dollars being spent and the value it's getting in return. In other words, they're beginning to behave like a responsible company, and we'll see if that continues. Hulu on Disney Plus, or Project Hulk, as it's called internally. And by the way, folks, that's not the first time we've said that here on the channel. And Jonas J. Campbell has done some extensive work on Project Hulk. We hope to have him on the channel to give us some commentary about this as well. But it says that it's called Project Hulk because it will make Disney Plus bigger and greener. And it's currently just one of those first steps in a plan. The idea is to make it easier for customers who've bought the Disney Plus Hulu bundle to view Hulu content within the Disney Plus app. And then it goes on to list out the slide. Now, much of this we already know. But the source goes on to say one last thing, and that is that chasing subscribers, this is fascinating, chasing subscribers is really no longer a thing for Disney. For almost the past year, a massive amount of time and money has been devoted to Hulu integration. And it would be very shocking if the goal was just to make the Disney Plus subscriber count look a little bit better. Now that going, counter to what the claim was from the other source who said that killing Hulu might make the Disney Plus subscriber numbers look more competitive with Netflix. However, let me hand it over now to Script. Script, take it away with the beginning of this conversation. What do you make of this idea that Hulu is going to be integrated into Disney Plus, and that not only that, but it's likely to happen this year, which would also mean that it's likely to happen before Disney officially fully owns Hulu.
Well, that's a very interesting question. One that has me thinking that they're probably going to use Hulu, which is essentially the correct model, has the correct model, in my opinion, of how you do streaming, which is basically AVOD, ad-supported video on demand. I think by integrating that model into Disney Plus, they're basically creating a soft transition to the subscribers that this premium type of streaming service that has no ad-supported model is now going to have an ad-supported model, and it's most likely going to dominate this Disney Plus overall in the near future, because Disney, along with a few other streaming companies, have finally learned the very lesson that I have been screaming at them for years, that you cannot support a streaming service on subscribers alone. And I think this is one of the ways to try and do that, where they can generate revenue in addition to a smaller subscription fee, so that they can start making money on their service again. And I think that's what they're going to do. And I think they're going to do that at the expense of the Hulu brand in itself. They're going to slowly, like the Blob, as it were, to quote a science fiction film, you're going to recognize it as Hulu, but as the months and years go on, it's going to slowly be absorbed by Disney Plus, to the point where their goal, I would assume, is that you've already bought into it, you're already a part of it, and the fact that it has the Disney Plus name on it is now no longer relevant, because whatever content Hulu had prior that was able to maintain in the transition is still retaining the initial subscriber over there, and then Disney can use those numbers to basically better present themselves as a competitor in the streaming industry.
Well said. Now, Valiant, we are hearing that Disney had originally planned to have this thing ready to roll out in September. Because of that, we infer that probably Disney already has a form, an iteration of Disney Plus in which Hulu exists, and perhaps that is being rolled out in the next update for Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. They are seemingly waiting now until December to do this. What do you make of the timing of this?
Well, there's a number of things to this I find fascinating. Before I answer that question, let me just say, as somebody who has spent 20 years in the financial industry, years in college studying finance and economics, and the last 2.5 years on YouTube covering the business and financial side of Hollywood, I concur 100% with everything that Script Doctor just said. That is 100% bang on. I mean, seriously, bang on with the thought process going on. To that end, and moving into what Disney is doing right now, yes, they do not want to have any kind of major purchase. They do not want to have any kind of huge shift in the balance sheet with everything that they are contending with right now. All of the malcontent with the writer's strike, the actor strike, so on and so forth. All of the issues they are having at the box office, the issues they are having with parks and resorts, and the souring operating income coming from those divisions. The advertising revenue that obviously is off year over year, or TTM, trailing 12 month, that everybody is suffering. They don't want to go out with the end of their fiscal year, which for Disney is September 30th each and every year. September 30th of this year, 2023, will be the end of the FY23 for Disney. They don't want to go out with, oh, by the way, we just jettisoned $10 billion in CapEx to complete this Hulu deal. No, they need to complete this fiscal year on a high note. And even with forward guidance, if they were to blow that CapEx in the fourth fiscal quarter, which, folks, is the fiscal quarter that we are in currently right now, as of August 8th, as you're watching this video, Disney doesn't want to drop that on the books. They're going to want to wait till they get past September 30th, get into the new fiscal year 2024. Why? Because What has Disney's mantra been for DTC, direct-to-consumer content, since the get-go back in 2019 with the launch of Disney Plus? That was, we will be profitable on DTC by EOY 24. That is the end of the fiscal year 2024, September 30th, 2024, for the Walt Disney Company. That's the goal they have to
essentially
hit.
1 year. They've got a year to make this happen, and
They
are
do.
losing still. What was the last one? $800 million they lost in a quarter?
650, 700
650,
in that range.
700,
Here's the
okay.
thing. We have an article today. I'll be covering this in a video with a Disney earnings call preview, which, by the way, folks, Wednesday, August 9th, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Central Time, or Eastern Standard Time, excuse me, on my channel. We'll be hitting that Disney earnings call. But we have people asking, Disney either has to, on that earnings call, confirm guidance that they will meet profitability for Disney Plus and DTC, or they're going to have to adjust trajectory and give us new guidance that it won't happen by then. We're going to push it out a year later. There are already Wall Street analysts looking at this. Like, there has to be
a really
clarity.
bad time for that to happen.
Yes.
This is a
Yeah,
really
they have a
great
bad time
excuse
for the
for
company
it.
to do that.
They have a perfect excuse for it, which is the fact that the WGA and SAG are on strike. They can use that as an excuse to say we are now going to not reach our target because the creative element is on strike.
That is true
okay,
to
so-
an extent, real quick, though, Pro. The problem is that we now have Warner Brothers. We now have, to a lesser extent, Comcast. But Paramount today on the earnings call, and especially you throw Warner Brothers in there, they have made it clear, although not being angry about it, that we have stuff lined up. If this actor strike and writer strike continues, we're good through the end of calendar 2024. We have stuff. We're okay. So they're already putting it out there. So if Disney tries to use that as an excuse come Wednesday, the problem is they are going to be the odd man out of the circle, as opposed to all the other major Hollywood studios that have already delivered earnings results for the same calendar quarter. Disney will really step in it if they go down that road. They could still do it, but it's not going to go over well. That's my point.
So I want to follow up with Script on something he said. As I do so, let's bring in someone we mentioned earlier in the video, Jonas J. Campbell, who has, in the past, done quite a bit of investigating when it comes to Project Hulk. And yes, folks, we are going to bring you the graphic that we believe Disney has been using with partners to explain how all of this is going to work later this year. But before we go to Jonas on that, Script, do you see any intersections in all of this negotiation with Disney and Hulu and the timing of all this and what's going on with the Hollywood strike right now? Are there any issues that you think could arise from Disney going ahead and integrating right now Disney Plus and Hulu that maybe we don't see as people who aren't heavily inserted into the industry, such as yourself?
Well, primarily this, when you're dealing with streaming services and integration of an existing streaming platform with another, you're already concerned about the established content that is on those respective services. It's already there. So there's really no issue on the creative side of things with regards to actors and writers, whatever their contract stipulated with regards to residuals. Even if it's going to be purchased by another company, those contracts by and large should be purchased as well with regards
That's
to
what I wondered.
the acquisition. So on the strike side of things, there's just there's no real conflict at this point, other than the fact that from a bunch of people that I would say on the not so much on the independent producers, although they are a part of this, but other production companies that would do negotiations with Hulu have just now lost another party that they can negotiate with, because it's now going to be taken back to Disney, which means that if they didn't have a good relationship with them beforehand, but could always sell something to Hulu, now they don't have that Hulu option anymore. It's all going to go to Disney, and that's going to have a ripple effect on writers and on actors and on crews and the whole industry, because you now have basically removed one area of the competition because it's now being merged into another part of the competition, which has grown so big over the last decade that they've influenced the industry. And that is why a lot of the stuff in the industry has not been so good, because they're all trying to follow suit the dollars that Disney was reporting and bringing in. And now that they're not making that money, and now that they're falling towards the side, other studios are kind of trying to jump ship as carefully as they can away from that mentality, but it's still going to come with a big dip.
That's
so
a fantastic
I don't
point.
see an issue. I don't see an issue in that regard as of yet. But who knows? Disney. Every time you think Disney couldn't get any lower, they do surprise you.
So when they start nullifying those residuals, that's when we'll do another video. When that happens, is those contracts get transferred over inside the company, but somehow still significant.
Well, it's always a possibility they might pull the same stuff they did with regards to the novelists that were contracted with Lucasfilm and Lucas Entertainment.
Oh yes, well that was dirty indeed. Well, Jonas, welcome aboard. We're going to bring you in to discuss this graphic that, well, it's time to look at, folks. So here's what we've got. This is sent to us by a source. And again, folks, we sure do appreciate, and this is growing and growing now. It's almost unmanageable. We're having to get additional assistance with all of the communications we're receiving. But we appreciate our sources so much who send us this kind of stuff and allow us to keep everyone ahead of the culture curve. And in this case, ahead of the business curve, I suppose. But this goes into what is Hulk. Now, that's Project Hulk. And much of this we have known in the past. Some things that we don't necessarily, that have not been part of our purview. I don't think any of us knew that they were going to make a subset, and I'm reading from the second sentence in that paragraph, that they were going to make a subset of the Hulu SVOD content catalog available for playback directly in the Disney Plus app. I think many of us thought that either you would go through Disney Plus to then open Hulu, or that there would be a Hulu blade inside Disney Plus, which would essentially function as a way to open the full library of Hulu. This, on the other hand, is different. And this kind of lends some credence to what I had been hearing about Hulu potentially being on the chopping block 3-4 years down the road, and Disney trying to integrate all of this into a single app. Jonas, do you find it odd that they are going to bring in the catalog subset of their choosing and bringing that into Disney Plus as opposed to everything Hulu?
This is going to be confusing for customers, even here. And I understand what most of these properties are. There's a question here as to what the premium add-ons are, but
this is for partners. Good luck explaining this to customers.
Right. Explaining the Disney Plus bundle is already difficult enough for most people, and which ones have ads and which ones don't have ads, and which ones are a straight ad-free play. But adding only parts of content to Hulu on Disney Plus as a single blade, that is a strange move that I can only take as a sign of a poorly thought out sign of weakness, or signs of their thoughts of weakness on Disney Plus, because this hurts the Hulu brand.
Well, that's
this hurts the Hulu
true.
brand
And Jonas,
as far as putting it on Disney Plus as a slice, the US only part that kind of makes sense on some level, because outside of the US, what we would have thought was Hulu is Star, which is a whole lawsuit issue that's going on between Comcast and Disney right now, because Hulu does not have to consult Comcast. The majority shareholders of Hulu is Disney Plus by 60% here, and they don't have to consult Comcast, the other minority shareholder. And
they have carte blanche at Disney, pretty much.
Right. And so there's a very good case to be made that Disney intentionally kept the value of Hulu low by choosing not to expand it internationally. So I think this is a problem just across the board. I think this is going to make it even more difficult in making the streaming landscape even more complicated than it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
what are they going to do? Let's say it's one piece of content. Let's say it's Handmaid's Tale that doesn't make it over. What is going to happen?
Of all the shows, Jonas, good Lord. Okay.
Let's say what happens when you search Handmaid's Tale? You see Hulu and you say, I'm going to search Handmaid's Tale on Disney Plus. What happens?
Yeah.
Does that say, oh, no, you need to go to the other Hulu, not this Hulu?
Well, look, I think you bring up an excellent point, because I was going to say there is a bizarre dichotomy to this whole problem. On one side, I mean, I can play the fence on this one. And on one side, I can say that Disney has the advantage, right? Because they have so much power in the cross-platform promotional advertising sales space. I would argue, of all the complaints I make about Disney, that they have more power in that space than any of their competitors. And quite frankly, I could show the math where I'm right. On the other side of things, Disney has flubbed so much stuff in the past 12 to 24 months that could be a problem. And of course, you know, Pro, you and I have both had videos recently from a source that contacted us regarding DAS, Disney advertising sales, where we could see where this would fall apart. So this is one of these, like so many other things with Disney right now, with studios, with linear, with DTC. I think at the end of the day, all of this, the Walt Disney Company is making a 50-50 proposition, and they're betting on winning. It's like, do you want to throw down on red or black right now? And there's great arguments to be made either way. We just don't know how it's going to play out.
Well, so let's go to the edge here and enter into theory for a moment. Because, and I may be reading way too much into this, but when you look at that question who there, for whatever reason, and we don't have access that we can show right now to all these other slides that would be available in this presentation to partners. And we know that this is being pushed out, by the way, folks. Don't forget, not September. They've now changed this since this slide was presented. It's now December. But if you take a look there, you'll notice that the Disney Plus logo is far larger than the Hulu or ESPN Plus logos. And I don't think that's accidental. I wonder, are we on a path where Hulu and ESPN Plus are integrated into Disney Plus? Perhaps they exist tangentially as their own things, where they have some exclusive content on their own platform as it exists separate from Disney Plus. But are we headed for a singular app? Is Disney going with the Elon Musk desire where he wants to, create X and Twitter is just a part of it? Is this what Disney wants as well, to pull all of their services, the three-pronged part of their company, into a singular app? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, well, yes and no. From the standpoint of structurally, as I mentioned earlier, I think, look, ESPN always has to be maintained as a separately carved out piece, even if structurally at some point it is integrated in Disney Plus. Let me give you an example. What did you and I just talk about in recent months with Warner Brothers? When it came to a recent announcement regarding Discovery Plus, what did Zaslav do? He integrated Discovery Plus into HBO Max. However, what was the big announcement? That Discovery Plus on the books would still be held separate and apart. You could still buy Discovery Plus separate and apart from HBO Max. And I made some speculations as to why that was done. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole again, but y'all go back and watch that video about the future of Warner Brothers and the speculations we had. I think the same story holds true here with ESPN, especially. Maybe not Hulu so much, but certainly ESPN. Because why? Live sports, as Script certainly will tell you, still the most lucrative thing out there in broadcast television, linear, DTC, or satellite TV, whatever the case may be, over-the-air broadcast. Yeah, radio, exactly. Westwood One. Exactly. Westwood One is still huge out there. CBS Sports and all this. Radio is still big. Live sports still rule the day. You would never want to fully integrate that into another platform that would cost you a ton of legal headaches, not to mention potentially billions of dollars to unwind, were you ever to actually find a business partner, either via private equity or another publicly traded company like Disney. And Bob Iger have recently announced that he's out there looking for a partner for ESPN. And when I say private equity, I mean, he's said straight up, we're talking to professional sports leagues. Well, that's private equity in effect. At the end of the day. So, I mean, if the NFL or the MLB or the NBA gets in bed with ESPN to reduce the cost of what they charge ESPN for the licensing rights to broadcast, and instead takes a piece of actual ad revenue, which I speculated on in previous videos and live streams, which they probably will do if that's what this design looks like, then you don't want to totally integrate that into Mickey Mouse Plus. I mean, you can't. So I think you'll have Disney Plus and Hulu. I don't think you should get rid of the Hulu nomenclature. I don't think you should get rid of the Hulu brand. It's too powerful. It's one of the most powerful advertising DTC brands that exists. You can marry it into Disney Plus as a singular login from a technical standpoint, from a structural standpoint, but you don't want to ditch the name. You don't want to ditch the brand. ESPN needs to be able to remain structurally independent because that's where the lucrative financial capacity is for Disney to bring in more cash. Just like Paramount announced today with their earnings call, they bucked off Simon & Schuster for $1.62 billion in a cash sale.
YouTube. Bucked like
bucked.
the deer.
Yes, I'm
YouTube.
sorry. Bucked. They bucked off Simon & Schuster to KKR for $1.62 billion in all cash. That is literally 16% of Paramount's entire market cap value. That's what Disney is looking to do right now with ESPN and, by extension, potentially ABC without the core content.
Well, I'm in awe of your knowledge there, and I'm also laughing at what the subtitles may have shown for those of you who have been dependent on the subtitles at work.
B-U-C-K, bucked.
That's right. Jonas, what do you got?
No, I just think about Hulu is a strong brand name, but at the same time, it is a brand name without a lot of connotations to it. And I've said this on other videos, that Hulu is a nice, inoffensive name. And right now, Disney does not have a lot of inoffensive names. There are people who will boycott anything that has the Disney name attached to it right now. Well, Disney is in its current ideological state, and they might be willing to forgive Hulu for just being there as a content aggregator play. So the idea that maybe they might be switching this to be full Disney Plus in the future is a worrisome idea for anyone who likes that nice neutral Hulu name that means almost nothing.
Well, just real quick, and I apologize. I just want to add this in just as a piece of anecdotal evidence. I hope my wife doesn't slap me for saying this, but my wife is your typical American, Gen X, 40-some-odd-year-old woman, and what does she consume? By and large, my wife devours Hulu content every day, and I mean every day, and I think that she is representative of a huge swath of women in her same demographic group out there in America. I think if Disney were to delete the Hulu brand, that would be a massive mistake. Could they roll it in under Disney Plus? Yes. But if they dump the brand name of Hulu, they're making a huge mistake. I don't think they will dump that brand. I could be wrong, but I just don't think they will.
Well, that's a demo that they are aiming for. That's probably a demo that's highly underrepresented for Disney, unless they have kids, and young kids at that. Bluey is all anybody's watching on Disney Plus, apparently. Script, it's been so long since we've had you in the channel. I want to give you the last word, and hopefully we can navigate having you back on real soon. Walk us through real quick, based on this Project Hulk, based on what you're seeing across the industry, where is streaming going in the next 1, 2, 3 years?
Well, having listened to the other earning calls from the company, they all seem to be laying the foundation to going to basically an AOVD model. It's the smart thing to do. It may not be convenient for a majority of customers right now that have gotten used to the lack of ads, but it is the way to go because two things are going to come from that. Number one, you as a customer are going to be spending less on those streaming services than you are now because it's going to eventually have to have a tier system that makes it affordable to the broadest demographic. Number two, If things go well with regards to transparency, especially on the stockholder side of things, for their numbers, you will actually most likely get a better quality of programming, which means that agenda-driven, superficially driven stuff will not retain viewership, and therefore they'll be canceled, and that money will be done to basically invest in new content that won't do that. That'll bring people in. That'll make the shows and by and large the streaming service more valuable, and you want that because as a result, you usher in another golden age of television and film. With regards to what Valiant was saying on the Hulu brand type of things, Disney would be very smart to treat Hulu like the streaming version of Touchstone Pictures.
Yes, yes. I'm sorry. Yes,
That's okay.
100%. The Touchstone call-in was a perfect example.
I
Yes.
think he mildly supports your assertion there, Script.
Well, I appreciate that, Valiant. It would be smart for them to do that. However, I don't know if Disney has the faculties to understand or value that in itself. Disney is very much of a dominating type of brand. They like to be at the top tier of things. They even when they were promoting Touchstone films, especially ones that were maybe a little bit above the G rating, even if they thought they were going to be family oriented, they would like to throw their name in there as well, so that
Roger
people know,
Rabbit. Yeah.
with Roger Rabbit, with Turner and Hooch, with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, all those types of things. They definitely like to lean into that, especially with Pixar back in the day. A lot of people still think that Pixar is a Disney company. It didn't become a Disney company until 2006. A lot of its successes were mostly in-house, and Disney just had a distribution agreement with them, a very lucrative one by and large. But I would say that I think right now we've got competition on the streaming side of things where Warner Brothers in their earnings call have talked about they're going to go more AVOD, and they're also going to be exploring and trying to rebuild the lost windows of distribution that have occurred as a result of streaming, which is a good thing. I already am suspecting that Paramount is looking to do a little bit of that. Disney has gone the opposite way because I believe they've said they're not going to be doing. They're going to be limiting their distribution, or at least their at home physical media in certain countries, Australia being one of them, if I'm not mistaken. And Comcast and NBC, by and large, are still just going to be doing what they're doing, hopefully getting some better content out there so they actually can be more competitive as opposed to just, being the little studio that could. That's basically what it is. But getting back to my point with regards to Hulu, if Disney is smart, they'll treat it like Touchstone, but their pattern and their panic would suggest that eventually what they're going to do is they're going to absorb Hulu. There's going to be layoffs from the people that are operating Hulu currently right now as that gets more further integrated into Disney Plus. And I would not be surprised if in 5 to 10 years, the people that were laid off from Hulu start Hulu again, because that name is probably going to be free reign again once Disney fully absorbs Hulu, and we'll get basically what AT&T did back between the 90s and the early 2000s, where it started off as a capital AT&T and then went to lowercase AT&T. Who knows? In 10 years, you might have a third-party streaming platform that licenses out to all the other platforms called Hulu, but it's all capital HULU.
With an exclamation mark. Well, Script Doctor.
Possibly, yes.
Script Doctor, thanks for adding an exclamation mark to this video, if I can pronounce that. Quickly tell us, where can we find you on this great, big, beautiful web out there?
You can find me on X at Script Doctor PhD and on YouTube at youtube.com/ScriptDoctor.
And don't forget, folks, if you're trying to go to X, it's still twitter.com if you're on your browser. Valiant, you have a major live video coming out soon, a live show. I think I'll be joining you, Jonas perhaps as well. Tell us a little bit about that and why people should tune in.
Well, I mean, if anybody's interested in this little company called Disney, and what their earnings call is going to bust out on Wednesday, August 9th at 4 p.m. Eastern. That's when we start. I would suggest you tune in to the channel and find out. We're going to have a good old time. These earnings calls, look, let me tell you what. When I started YouTube 2.5 years ago, I never envisioned that we would have 2,000 to 3,000 people watching us cover freaking earnings calls of entertainment companies I mean,
You've
like,
made them into a national sport, Valiant.
it really has. Like, this is bigger than women's soccer. I mean, I know that's a low bar, but my God. Oh, we got Jonas up on that joke. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Well, it's Disney. There's just as much pink hair, probably.
Well,
No, but here's the thing.
To be fair, no one could have predicted that the earnings calls, especially Walt Disney Company earnings calls, would be so dramatic. My goodness, it was a bloodbath at the annual call earlier this year. And the last one, Bob Iger lost his composure multiple times, going on for extended periods of time, saying things he legally probably should not say. So if anyone has not been a part of one of these earnings calls and watch them live, seriously, you want to be there.
Yeah, this is it. This is the big one, folks. I mean, this is, to date, this is the big one. We're expecting a big crowd. And I will tell you that before I got on here tonight, I had the pleasure of being invited on by a wonderful dude that had me onto his podcast, the great Ron Coleman of Coleman Nation. I recorded a show with him tonight, and I will tell you that as a preview, not so much for the Disney earnings call, but for the Sunday live show next week, when we do a wrap-up on the earnings call, Mr. Coleman has agreed to join us for the Sunday live show.
What?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Mr. Coleman will be joining us, and it will be Pro and Jonas. Can you reschedule stuff and join us for the Sunday show?
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go talk to my supervisor.
Yeah, I think you
about
should.
that. Like,
At this point, Valiant, you could tell me that you are having the resurrected form of Walter Cronkite come on your show, and it would not surprise me. You're growing so fast and becoming such a phenomenon across YouTube.
Well, I'm hoping that Mr. Coleman will indeed be able to join us. Jonas, I'm certainly hoping you will join us. Drunk 3PO has already got the invite. He is going to make his best efforts to join us, not only for the earnings call itself, but also for the Sunday live show. Stay tuned. This is going to be a huge week for Disney, for Valiant Renegade Script. I'm extending the invitation now. You are welcome to join us as well Sunday. We've got a whole bunch to discuss. I mean, this is a bonkers week, folks. Bonkers.
All right, folks, you heard it right here. Make sure to check out Valiant Renegade and all of the coverage he's going to have over the next week. Jonas, I kind of hate to throw it to you to follow up on that one, but where can people find you?
I have a YouTube channel where sometimes I watch kids shows and I talk about all the things that shouldn't be in kids shows. I have a series called Everything Woke, where I like to break down all of the things that should not be in children's content. And that is very related to the Walt Disney earnings calls.
Everybody sub to Jonas right now.
Right now.
Everybody.
Get over there.
Right meow.
And Script.
Script's got a Patreon too, which has wonderful insights into the art of movie making. There's something insane going on downstairs that I need to go take part of. So thank you
Go
very
take
much.
part of it,
Good
and
luck
I
with
will say
that.
I am a proud member of Script's Patreon, and I cannot recommend it more highly. Everybody should go follow that Patreon. It is awesome.
Oh yes,
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And I am a secret ashamed member of Script's Patreon, so I'm on the other side of that. It's also enjoyable for me.
Go
I hear
take care of the
great joy
kids.
downstairs, Jonas.
Yeah, I mean your kids are like killing cats or something downstairs.
I think
so.
they've achieved flight. My goodness.
Well, folks, if
great.
you enjoyed this video, even a fraction as much as the kids over at Jonas's place are enjoying whatever they're up to, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and click it, stick it to the algorithms, hit the notification bell. The conversation here has come to a conclusion, but it's commentary time. Drop a comment down below. Let us know what you think. We cover your comments. We care about what's in your mind. And folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Oh,
What are you doing?
well, you see, I wanted to get some inside scoops on Disney and their different corporations, if you know what I mean. So I figured by looking into this fistbowl and sucking it randomly with my own energy that I pay for, you paid for, I could do the whole experience where you can be a master and spy on your targets.
You're an idiot.
If you want to get the inside scoop on Disney, or even other media organizations, you should check out thatparkplace.com and subscribe to WDW Pro's YouTube channel. That'd be way easier, more accurate, and, less dumb.
Are you saying I won't get accurate information this way?
No, you can't.
Who'd have think?